There's a piece of advice we've all heard, probably more times than we can count. Just be yourself. It sounds honest, empowering even, like a key to freedom. But when you really think about it, what does it even mean? Who is this self we're being told to be? Is it the version of you at your most confident, or the one you are when no one's watching? Is it who you were before the world got to you, or the person you're still trying to become? The truth is, most of us don't know. We might think we do. We say, I'm this kind of person, or I'd never do that. But under the surface, we're shaped by things we barely remember. Our childhood roles, our cultural surroundings, the expectations we've been trained to meet since we could speak. Carl Jung had a term for this outer layer, the part of us that faces the world. He called it the persona, a kind of mask we wear so we can function in the social world. It's the version of you that knows how to behave at a job interview, the one who laughs a little more at your boss's jokes, the one who doesn't cry in public even when you want to. It's not wrong to have a persona, it's human. The problem begins when we confuse the mask with the face beneath it. The persona is a kind of mask, Jung wrote, designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. That line hits hard, because if we've spent years polishing this mask, if we've built a whole life around how we're perceived, then who are we when no one's looking? Or maybe more honestly, when did we stop looking? Most of us don't deliberately hide who we are. We just get used to being what's expected. We become fluent in the language of approval. And fluent speakers sometimes forget they're even translating. So when someone says, just be yourself, they might mean well, but they're skipping a very complicated question. Who is that? And more importantly, how do you find out? The persona, the mask, helps us survive. It lets us function in public, navigate relationships, keep a job, avoid conflict. It's part of being an adult, part of being social. But somewhere along the way, it starts to blend with the person underneath. You laugh at the right times, you nod when you're supposed to. You've got a story to tell about who you are. I'm an introvert, I'm a go-getter, I'm not emotional. But are you really? Or is that just the mask that's gotten comfortable? Jung didn't tell people to throw the mask away. He warned us not to mistake it for the whole picture, because underneath the mask is everything you've hidden, everything you've learned to push down, everything you've been told not to show, your anger, your envy, your fear, your tenderness. Jung called that very part the shadow, and he didn't mean it as something evil. It's not just your darkness, it's your unlived life. Maybe you're always the peacekeeper, but inside there's a part of you screaming to speak up. Maybe you're always confident on the outside, but you've never really been vulnerable. Maybe you've built your whole identity around being the nice one, but you've never let yourself feel rage, or desire, or pride. And if that shadow never gets acknowledged, it doesn't go away. It leaks out. In passive aggression, in sudden outbursts, in quiet dissatisfaction. It shows up in the ways we sabotage ourselves without knowing why. Until you make the unconscious conscious, Jung said, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That line explains so much about how people get stuck. We keep doing things we don't understand, choosing the same kind of partner, sabotaging our work, numbing ourselves when things get hard. And we think it's just bad luck, or bad timing, or just how we are. But often, it's the shadow trying to be heard. This is where that advice, just be yourself, can go off the rails. Because if you don't know yourself, if you haven't looked in the dark corners, then being yourself might just mean repeating your unconscious patterns over and over again. It might mean calling fear intuition. It might mean calling avoidance peace. It might mean thinking you're authentic, when really you've just stopped growing. True authenticity isn't just about acting without a filter, it's knowing what's behind the impulse, and choosing who you want to be instead of just reacting. That's where Jung's idea of individuation comes in. It's not a one-time insight, it's a lifelong process of becoming whole, of integrating the mask, the shadow, and the contradictions. The self is not only the center, but also the whole circumference which embraces both conscious and unconscious. It is the center of this totality. In other words, the self isn't what you present, and it's not what you're hiding either. It's the dialogue between those two worlds, and you can only reach it by doing the work, slowly, awkwardly, honestly. It's strange how obsessed we are with identity. We take quizzes to figure out our personality types. We write bios for ourselves like we're characters in a show. We crave labels, not because we're shallow, but because deep down we just want to know where we fit. Who am I really? But that question can be a trap if we expect a fixed answer. We want clarity, simplicity, a permanent label. But Jung would say, don't rush to define yourself. Because the self isn't something you find, it's something you grow into. And that process is messy. You'll outgrow beliefs you were once sure of. You'll change your mind about what matters. You'll meet parts of yourself you don't like. Jealousy, fear, sadness. And realize they're not flaws. They're fragments. They're clues. The goal isn't to throw out who you've been. It's to understand it deeply enough that you're not stuck in it. That's the danger of just be yourself. It skips the part where we evolve. It suggests that who you are now is all there is. But growth requires contradiction. It requires you to betray the person you were last year, even yesterday. Think of the people you admire. Not because they're flashy or impressive, but because they're grounded, open, real. Those people didn't just pick an identity and stick with it. They've earned their selfhood through reflection, discomfort, and patience. Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That word, become, changes everything. Because it means there's movement, there's potential. You're not a finished product, you're a work in progress, and you always will be. And that is not a flaw, it's freedom. So maybe the next time someone says, just be yourself, you pause. Not because it's bad advice, but because it's incomplete. Who you are today might not be who you need to stay, and that's okay. You are allowed to shift, to contradict yourself. To be both brave and afraid, to be both kind and angry, to not have it all figured out. You are allowed to meet yourself slowly, through trial, through failure, through moments when everything falls apart, and all that's left is whatever's real. So don't aim to be yourself like it's a final destination. Instead, get curious. Ask better questions, make space for change, and listen closely to the quiet voice underneath all that noise. It's not loud, it's not polished, but it's yours. And that is where the real journey begins.